Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just some ordinary dude, and today I am accompanied by Mia, a very lovely little lady who also goes by the name of With the Flow and the Amazing Lynn. Yeah. So how are you
Hi
today?
guys,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. You're obviously a very cheerful, passionate sort of character, very popular in the Loud House fandom. Uh, but one very notable thing about you, and something that I share with you, we're both very big fans of Lynn Loud Junior. You even more than me. Like you might be the biggest Lynn Loud fan of the lot. Like only Michael 509 and Cartoon Fan 2018 could maybe make a claim to be bigger fans. But yeah. But obviously, you are a very big fan of hers, so I was going to ask, what really draws you to her character? What makes you like her so much?
Well, firstly, I think she's really helpful. Like in episodes like Camp, she saved her entire family's life,
Well, yeah, I mean, there is
and
that.
she's always the strong one.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
she is very strong. I mean, mind you, the strength is a bit inconsistent in episodes, but yeah, generally she is the strong one of the main cast.
She's like
Uh,
the strongest one in the Loud House universe, basically.
um, well, there's a few characters who could
Mm,
offer competition, but yeah, let's just for argument's sake go with that. Maybe I always have had a bit of a theory, but that's something I might touch on in another video on my own sometime. World of Cardboard theory, but anyway. So for me, Lynn is a really endearing character. She's when she's done right, she's easily the standout of any episode she's in, whether it be her focal episode or just an episode like focused on the family in general. So you can get an episode like Time Trap, for example, or So for So Good, where it's not a Lynn episode, but she's a big part of it, and she has like the funniest moments, and she's the most entertaining presence in the
yeah, she's
room.
definitely the most entertaining character.
Yeah, well, again, most of the time, but we'll get to that. But when she is done well, it's really like good stuff. Like Space Invader, I've said many times, is my favorite episode of the entire show, and it's a
That's like
very
my second favorite
yeah.
episode of season one.
I'm willing the yeah, what would your favorite episode of season one be?
Project Loud House.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That's a
Project
classic.
Loud House. That was the one where he was trying to get them all out the house for 2/3, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I liked that one. I thought the first 2/3 of the episode were like almost perfect, and then it sort of like slowed down to a crawl in the last 4 minutes. Like it was a perfect 8 minute story that had to go to 11 minutes, if that makes sense. Which is what slightly weighs it down for me, but still very good. But Space Invader, very simple premise, executed to near perfection.
oh,
Um,
I definitely.
it's just basically Lincoln shares a room with his sister, and she annoys the hell out of him with all her habits. And what's funny about it, of course, is that Lincoln is the only boy in the house, but he's actually quite, he's soft, he's reserved, he's quite feminine in certain ways. He's a bit more passive. And then you normally when a girl would share a room with a boy, he'd be worried that she was gonna girlify it up. But Lynn is like the opposite. And she basically just gives him Dutch ovens and wrestles with him and snores really loudly at night, and he just drives him insane in like the funniest way possible. And every joke is just executed like in terms of its timing and its sort of pacing,
Yeah, definitely
really,
one of the
really well.
funniest episodes of the
Yeah,
show.
yeah,
Mhm.
and that was the episode that really made me think. You know what? This character is great, and she's had plenty of other great episodes. Obviously, Middlemen was one that surprised me.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
my
really
favorite
good.
episode of the series.
Yeah, I mean that's really really good. Probably in my top five, certainly at least my top 10. And then you have some underrated ones. I think Hero Today Gone Tomorrow is one of the most underrated episodes in the entire show. People don't talk about
Oh
it
yeah,
nearly
that one
enough.
and Winner Takes All are extremely underrated.
Leonard Takes All, very entertaining, very funny, got tons of great jokes. I do think it goes a bit far with making her come across as obnoxious and doesn't quite do enough at the end.
Well, they had to do that to move the story
Yeah, I
ahead.
know. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I do have a small problem with that, but I still think it's very good. Another one,
Yeah,
Can't
that
Win Them
episode
All.
gets too much hate.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. A lot of episodes get too much hate. Let's be honest.
Hmm.
Can't Win Them All is a much more recent example. Really good episode. Just basically a whole episode of Lynn wrestling. I mean, if I'm honest, The
That
sporty
episode was
ass.
amazing. That's what saved season 7.
Well, season 7 had some other good gems in it,
I didn't
though.
really like season 7 that much.
Well, it had some good gems in it. I think it stumbled at the end, but it had a lot of good episodes. Like the road trip arc had a couple of gems, like Scream Queen and Doll Day
Oh yeah,
Afternoon,
that was good.
especially. There were some episodes like Candy Crushed. I thought that was pretty good. And there were some other episodes towards the end in there. Bye Bye Birthday is probably Lucy's best episode in years since Head Poet's Anxiety. There are some gems in season 7. I think it's remembered. I almost put it on par with season 6, which was my second favourite season, by the way. I do think there are a few duds at the end of season 7 that weigh it down slightly compared to its predecessor, but it's still like a good season of television. I don't know. There are some really good episodes in season 7. You got to admit it.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Like, there's a lot of episodes that focus on things that aren't particularly that interesting, and to a point, I agree. But there is still like a lot of passion and talent, and everything that's really put into it, and you do have to sort of like show admiration for that. I think because they're a very talented crew. Um, they don't do perfect stuff, but it is very good.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to Lynn Junior, I think the main issue. I'm a fan of Lynn's, but obviously we know there is a big sort of hindrance surrounding her character, and that's some episodes do not portray her in the best light. I think we can all agree on
Yeah.
that. No Such Luck being the obvious infamous example. She
Oh god,
threatened
I'm
to
tired of
beat,
hearing that
yeah,
episode.
she threatened to beat Lincoln up with a baseball bat, and then contributed heavily to getting him locked out of the house. Even if he did do some of it himself, she played a big part in that. And then there's obviously things like the subplot of Schooled. I didn't really like that much because
Yeah,
obviously
me
she
neither.
comes across as a bit of a bully, and I'm like, I get she's the tough, abrasive one, and there's a way you can make an
And
aggressive
she's
sort of sister character work, and most of the time they do. But it's those episodes where she's not done well that everyone remembers, and as a result, a lot of people hate the character, and therefore fans like you and I think these are the woes of being a Lynn fan. We it's hard being a Lynn fan. You know what I mean? Because you almost feel like you have to defend why you like her to everybody. Because most people think, well, she's not that good a character. She's always being horrible to everybody. And you see lots of hate art and hate fan fictions and stuff about her
oh
everywhere
yeah.
you turn. And you're like, oh, this you really kind of. It's a shame how that's all turned out. And and I think like that's how a character is remembered. Like even all the haters outside the fandom, Cartoon Sheet, Mr. Enter, they all have to bring up Lynn Junior as if she's the worst cartoon character to ever exist. And I'm like, no, she really isn't.
She's just really misunderstood. They just
Yeah,
don't understand her
yeah.
character.
I think it's just the issue that they sometimes don't always write her the best. And I think one thing that they could do, and I'm going to put an image in the video. Remember, I think I showed you this. I actually did have a very brief interaction with two members of staff, Andrew Brooks and Colton Davis. Obviously, Andrew Brooks, he wrote Snow Escape, which you weren't that big a fan of for a while. I think Fictional Media probably even remembers that. He won't let it go. but, you know, and that episode, I had mixed feelings on it. It's really good. It's very funny. It has some of the best animation I've ever seen in the entire program. It's
Oh
got
yeah,
a
the
lot of
animation in that
suspense.
episode is
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good.
Like
A
remember that
top
scene
tier.
where they're all running down the street and trying to avoid getting pelted by snowballs, and how dynamic it all looks. And I was like, that is impressive. Really, really good
That's
stuff.
really top tier.
Yeah, and like I value and admire all the merit that episode has, and I want to like really, really love it. You know what I mean? And part of me does. Like the pure casual fan part of me is like, you know what? Funny as hell. The characters have great dynamics. Like Lola's pretty funny in that episode as well. Like Lola Loud is nobody's bait. Why is it? Why is this working? I hate that it's working. That was pretty funny. Like Lola's your second favorite character, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of interesting. You like two characters who have a few similarities, like they're both quite aggressive and competitive and fight for what they want, but they're also polar opposites. Um,
Yeah, they're like two sides of the same
yeah,
coin.
like obviously Lola's the biggest girly girl of the whole lot, and Lynn arguably even more tomboyish than twin Lana, maybe. And it's like, and that's another thing about the show. Like it has so many, like it covers the whole spectrum of femininity in a very interesting way. Like you've got people on extreme ends of the spectrum and sisters like right in the middle and at varying points, and it's quite interesting actually how they do that. Um, but anyway, going back to Snow Escape, yeah, lots of merit and lots of things I love about that story. But it's almost like there's a meta issue, if that makes sense. And it's like, was this episode the best thing? Did it come out at the best time and in the best?
No,
Because obviously it's at a time
it
when a
kind of
lot.
amplified Lynn hate a bit.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Didn't
I
like.
know on one level you say maybe I shouldn't be bothered by it, but it's like I kind of am, and that's the Lynn fan in me. If there's one thing I wish the show would do more, I do wish
Use like Lynn's aggressive side in a positive way instead of a
yes,
negative way.
exactly. Use it, for like to save Lincoln or someone from bullies, to beat a bad guy. Like in Snow Escape, she's the antagonist, and it is funny, but it's like she's unable.
Yeah.
Like, and this is nothing. You've seen Stealing Thunder, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, skip like 30 seconds later if you haven't seen Stealing Thunder, everyone. But obviously, in that episode, she beats a crocodile with ease. And in Lynn and Order, she's unable to beat a bobcat. And I'm
Yeah, the
like,
show's really inconsistent in that.
yeah. Like, and there's another thing. In like House Flip, she's unable to lift Flip without the help of her siblings. But in Can't Win Them All, guy 3 times Flip size, she picks up with ease. And I'm like, how strong is she exactly?
Oh no, she's a lot shorter than Luann.
Yeah,
She's
like
like Lincoln's height.
yeah, but it is what it is. Like, I do wish there were some more episodes where we would see the positive side of her strength and aggression. Like, so there is a good side to having a sister like that in the main cast in the show. Like a good side to Lincoln. Like she actually helps him out a bit more. Like she was written out of No Bus No Fuss, which I get because they wanted to have Lincoln and his friends solve it on their own. But at the same time, it's like Lincoln had just stomped those three buddies with ease. There should be an episode. At least let her beat up Chandler for Lincoln's sake in one episode.
Oh,
That would
I
be
really
cool.
want to see that.
I think everyone wants to see that. Everybody, as
That would
fans,
be
let's be
epic.
honest, we all want to see that. And
It has to be Lynn specifically.
yeah, and I just do think there could be a bit more balance, and that for the most part, and Stealing Thunder is a little bit in the right direction. Like she saves him from falling off a house, and she kind of saves him from a crocodile, I guess, sort of. So that's a step in the right direction. Who wrote that episode? I think it was Whitney Wetter, the same person who oddly enough wrote In an Order. So apparently
But
a
I'm not
bobcat
sure.
is stronger than a crocodile to her, which okay. I'm not slagging off Whitney Wetter. She's my favourite writer actually. She's written tons of gems for the show. But yeah, that was a bit weird. Um, but it's like I did say this to Andrew Brooks and Colton Davis. I would like to see more episodes where her strength is used in a positive way for what we've just said. That would be great. It would be so good to give her that give Lynn fans a bit something back because often we have to defend ourselves against haters of her character. There's a lot of them out there. And it would just be nice, be able to finally move on past all this no such luck hate.
Yeah.
I think that's fair enough. I mean, obviously, some people say it's just easier to ignore it, but it shouldn't be there really. I think
Mm.
that's a fair enough thing to say, but it is what it is. But I still, as much as she's had some setbacks, she's still a great character. Jessica DeKicko plays her brilliantly,
Oh
and there
yes,
are
I love
some
her
yeah,
voice acting.
and there are some episodes where she's a really good endearing character, really, and there's some episodes where they balance the aggressive, tough, tomboyish side of her with with having her be, still likable, still redeemable, still friendly enough, sort of thing. They don't quite go too far with it, and those are the best episodes.
Yeah,
Like,
like good
like,
sports, just the cook,
yeah,
those type of.
absolutely. There's lots of episodes where she's really great. I mean, if I'm honest, the fact that she's into sports, even though it's like her defining trait, it's like the thing that appeals about her to me the least. Like, I don't really care if she's into sports or not. I'm more into the fact that she's like the tough, sort of, the tough sort of almost macho sibling, if that makes sense. It's kind of funny. Um, that's sort of the part that I find sort of hilarious and entertaining. So people who say like, oh, she should just become a lot softer like Ronnie Ann did, and sort of just be a sporty
That would just
girl. I'm
ruin
like,
her character.
yeah, like, yeah, I think there's more to
Like
finding an
they
appeal
ruined
than that.
Ronnie Ann's character. They shouldn't do it to Lynn.
Well, I like Ronnie Ann's character.
I
I
don't.
I think I almost treat her as a different character. Because there was a very big jarring change once the Casa Grande started. And I think they wanted to make her a bit more like Lincoln to put her in a wider variety of storylines. And I suppose there is a reason why she got a bit softer. Because if you think about it, in Royal Woods, she was on her own. Her mother was always out working. Her brother was always out working. She was in the house on her own. You know, she didn't seem to have any friends at school. She just picked on Lincoln and the other boys. Her parents were probably just recently divorced. She had a bit of a bad life, I think. And when she went to the city and got a bigger family and lots of friends, she got happier. And I think that's all it is. It does make sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That does make sense. Um, I will admit, I would have liked to have seen like when she was still like the tough girl, a Ronnie and Lynn Junior conflict. That would have been really fun. I guess we'll have to settle for Lynn Junior versus Becky because I tell you what, um, you can't tell me Can't Win 'Em All didn't build up to that. You can't tell me it didn't. I mean, look at Bella Big Bucks. Yeah,
Mhm.
you can't. Did you see the resemblance? The blonde hair, the unibrow, the aggressive face, the lines on the nose, the gap teeth. You know, and she's a wrestler, and she's into wrestling. She owns a wrestling company. Becky's main trait is that she's a wrestler.
Wait, like I don't watch the Casa Grande,
But
so
you
I
know
don't
who
really know
Becky
who
is.
Becky is.
Oh well, basically, she's like the Lynn Junior of that show. She's
Oh,
like the bully to Ronnie Ann.
oh wait, not the good type. Okay,
Yeah, she's like a little blonde girl with like a unibrow. You might have seen her vaguely.
I think I've seen her
She
before, but I
looks
don't
like
watch the
a
Casa
little girl
Grande.
version of Bella Big Bucks from that episode.
Oh, okay.
And basically, I think they're going to bring her into the Loud House maybe in season 8. And there's going to be a Lynn Junior Becky fight because that's the closest we're ever going to get to her versus Ronnie Ann now, is the reality. And that could be a fun episode. Hopefully, Lynn beats her. That would be cool. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we got a point across. There's a lot to like about Lynn Junior. There are setbacks. I get why
I
some
also
people.
think like she can be caring, like a middleman in good sports,
Yeah,
even though people like to ignore those episodes.
yeah. I mean, she
It shows
does
how
care
caring she
about
is.
Lincoln. It is inconsistently portrayed, but she does care about him. I mean, in the Loud House movie, there's a very underrated, overlooked moment where she's like, Lincoln's like falling around on the dragon, and Lynn's just up there and saying, "My baby bro."
I love that part.
Yeah, and that was a really good bit. I mean, the Loud House movie is probably, oddly enough, maybe the weakest of the 3 movies, but it still has some really good stuff in it. It's actually, it's still very, very
Hmm.
good. But I think No Time to Spy did sort of blow it out of the water, though. Even if No Time to Spy could have had a bit more action for the Loud family, but hey, that's another thing. So shall we end that segment there? Yeah.
Yeah.